call the meeting to order. A few months ago, the police department had an officer that had to retire due to a battle with illness. That officer passed away this weekend. Even though we don't have an invocation on their agenda, I'm going to ask you for a moment of silence for Cindy Reinhardt and her family. Amen.
Amen.
Second item on the agenda is approval of minutes. Consider approval of the December 3rd regular session minutes. Motion by Councilmember Hall, second by Councilmember Townsend. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3 is public hearings. This is a public hearing for a map amendment. 1843 map amendment tax record 11009 from R10 to R8A. And before we start the public hearing, I ask the staff to introduce it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you mentioned, this is a request for a map amendment, tax record 11009. What is there right now is zoned R10, and they are zoning to R10A. And let's see if I can open that up for you. This is, you're looking at it from an angle here, but this is East Main or West Main Street right here, Memory Lane, and Crown Point Drive. So this is immediately behind those commercial structures that are on West Main Street there. It is approximately a 0.8 acre parcel. And what they would like to do there is zone it to multifamily residential. Their intent is to put townhomes on there. Currently, they're proposing it would be a total of 4 units, and this would allow them to go up to 8. I don't know if they have any plans for that at this time, but they'd like to be able to expand and to put 4 units on right now and possibly expand back there later on. As mentioned, it is zoned single-family residential district right now. It is. It has single-family R10 residential district around it on 3 sides. In front of it is zone GHBD. Show you the future land use map here. It is right about where the cursor is. And as you can see, there is a neighborhood commercial center there. Right at that intersection and pretty much right adjacent to this property also. The general residential classification that you see, it is in general residential, the orange part there. The general residential classification also features areas of low-density development with roads that are not well connected and frequently terminate cul-de-sacs, compact residential neighborhoods that set aside significant natural vistas, parkland, landscape features, and other rural heritage features for permanent conservation are encouraged. Development considerations include environmental impacts, urban sprawl, road connectivity, impact of adjoining neighborhoods, protection of natural features and vistas. As I mentioned, it's in close proximity to the neighborhood commercial center, and those are designed for commercial mixed-use areas developed at neighborhood scale that offer a limited amount of commercial development convenient to surrounding neighborhoods. This property is exempt from watershed floodplain ordinances. There aren't really many developmental constraints on site. The property is somewhat unique. It is in the general residential land use, and it's zoned for R10, which is consistent with that, but it is a little bit unique in that is immediately adjacent to that neighborhood center. The applicant is asking for R8A, multifamily residential zoning for the development of multiple residential units. Given the proposed use, the parcel's current zoning, the parcel's proposed zoning under the futures land use map, and adjoining parcel uses, there are merits for the proposed rezoning to be both congruous and incongruous with the city's future land use plan. I would ask council to consider the comprehensive plan, which a future land use plan itself and the goals that are included in there. Goals, residential goals, O-3C is to discourage sprawl. O-3-D is to expand the variety and improve the quality of housing types from single family to townhouse and apartments. And then commercial goals, O-4.G, encourage mixed use development, commercial, office, single and multifamily development, and accommodate new commercial development that through the utilization of commercial center concepts instead of strip development. And this also has an emphasis on pedestrian scale uses adjacent to residential areas. Due to that fact, Planning Board met on December 6 and voted 9-0 to adopt the following consistency statement and recommend approval for the rezoning request from R10 to R8A. And I guess I'll read it. The Albemarle Planning and Zoning Board finds the action to amend the city's zoning map between properties 2004 Crown Point Drive and 210 Butler Street, tax record 11009, from Zone R10 Single Family Residential District to R8A Multifamily Residential District, and to be consistent with the adopted 2028 Land Use Plan. The 2028 Land Use Plan places a parcel close to a neighborhood commercial center that allows for commercial and mixed uses at a neighborhood scale. The city's R8A zone will assist the parcels of interest reach their intended goal of capitalizing on the proximity to a neighborhood commercial center. Now, there are the standard three different, we're doing all three of them now, consistency and inconsistency statements. The first one being that it is consistent, the second one being that it's not consistent, and the third one being that it is inconsistent, but you find reason and find it in the general interest of the city to rezone it anyway. Staff is of the opinion that the first one, that it is consistent based on the location of the commercial center there.
This is a public hearing. Anyone who cares to speak for or against, please come forward.
Motion to close public hearing.
Just a minute. Mr. Robinson, the last time we had a proposed amendment in this area, we had considerable opposition. We did notification, we put up our sign, and we did all of our public notice, and we did not receive any opposition at the planning board either?
No, I don't believe there was anybody there. Did?
No,
sir.
he moved.
I didn't see anybody there. I don't remember anybody speaking. So
only about 3 people showed up for the planning board, and they were the property owner and also the Skeet. Ask you who's interested, and then of course the third person was applicant for the variance. So I didn't receive anything. We sent out the letters, post in the snap, and then also actually post on site, and the on site notification is still there. So we didn't hear anything from anyone.
This is not a real heavily. Of course, it's a lot of this is subdivided, but there's not really that many actual houses that are on the property back here right now. Trying to see if I can find an aerial. There you go. It's kind of sparsely developed right now.
The one that you're talking about, wasn't that more of a adult senior living apartment?
It was another apartment complex right up the street from it.
Okay.
But it was in that general area is the reason I asked.
You're right.
I think it may have been on a little bit larger scale as well.
Yeah, I think so.
It's very sparse out there. I went out and looked at it. There's just not much around it.
Anyone else have any questions of Mr. Robinson?
Yes, since we're still in, just right now, as the side note has said, that the parcel or parcels that were there have now been removed. Is that correct?
The structure's no longer there.
Okay, neither. If I remember, there used to be a house on a little outbuilding, is what it looks like, or a.
There's a little tiny cottage that was there right in the middle of that parcel.
Yeah.
Little tiny.
I think it's all gone, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember there being much out there. Yeah.
It's still on Google Maps.
Council, if you'll recall, this is one that we actually did in our day of caring a couple years ago.
That's what
There was no water.
Right, this is where there was,
and
right.
the resident passed away, and it's been sold, and it's all
That's
torn
what
down.
I was thinking, yeah.
It says duplexes on the application, 2 duplexes. Are they changing or thinking something? You mentioned town hall or town.
It's really just to kind of help them maximize what they can do there right now.
Okay.
They could do, well, it's R10. I think you have to be on a corner lot in order to do a duplex.
Okay.
So they could subdivide this probably into 2 or 3 single-family units, but they really want to do a duplex.
Okay.
The R10 doesn't allow them that. The R8 would allow them to do a little bit with it, but you couldn't put as many of them on. I think 4 would be about the maximum they could do with R8, and they really want to be able to put an additional 2 to 4 units kind of in the rear of it later on, and it would save them from having to subdivide the property up afterwards also.
So are they setting it up to have a road come in, or how are they doing that?
That won't be necessary if they get the multifamily, if they get R8A. Now, if they were to go to, if they were to try to do it with R10 or R8, there's a possibility they could put a road going in there and then reorient everything along there, but it makes it kind of tight to do that once you get your right-of-way in there and you have your setbacks and everything. It makes it kind of hard to develop your buildings to fit those lots.
And for a matter of my information, petitioners did know it was coming before full council tonight. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct, yeah.
Council have further questions? Again, does anyone care to speak for or against? I'll entertain that motion, Mr. Townsend. Motion by Councilmember Townsend to close the public hearing. Second by Councilmember Hall. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Council, whether you wish to proceed or not proceed, I need you to use one of the consistency statements that are in your agenda and make your motion and recite that statement.
Point of information, it sounds like to me that when it came to us straight from planning and zoning, they used consistency statement number 1, and that is what staff is so recommending.
Correct.
That's what I remember staff making.
If you want to make that motion, I'd like for you to read that statement, please.
I'm not going to make that motion.
Anyone else want to make that motion or a motion?
I'll make the motion. Which consistency? Where is the consistency statement?
Let me show you. Well, fire.
I'll second and read it if you want me to.
This one right here.
Correct.
Okay. Do I need to read that?
Please read it into the record, please.
Okay. The Albemarle City Council finds the action to amend the city's zoning map tax record number 11009 from R10 single-family residential district to R8A multifamily residential district to be consistent with the adopted 2028 land use plan. The 2028 land use plan places the parcel closer to a neighborhood commercial center that allows for commercial and mixed uses at a neighborhood scale. The city's R8A zone will assist the parcels of interest reach their intended goal of capitalizing on its proximity to a neighborhood commercial center. Neighborhood commercial centers encourage land use goal 0-4, period G, of encouraging mixed-use developments that include multifamily. Based on the aforementioned, amending the city's zoning map would be reasonable and in the public interest. I so move that.
I have a motion by Councilmember Bramlett.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Whitley. Further discussion?
May I have staff come back up for one
Sure.
question? Thank you. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
Go back to, if you will, show us the plan. Not the plan of this particular piece. There you go. And I want you to zero in on where we are, where this particular application is.
It's like right there where my hand is. That's the problem. Yeah.
And the plan that is in what appears to be gold.
That's the commercial neighborhood center right there.
Okay, thank you very much.
The tricky part with these is that there's no defined radius or anything to these. It's just kind of, this is a general area for where this should go.
Further questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed?
No.
Motion carries. I think we need a separate ordinance to adopt ordinance 1838 by separate motion.
Motion to approve 1848.
Motion by Councilman Whitley to approve
38.
1838.
38.
38. Second.
Second by Councilmember Aldridge. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Beaver, we have a little unique situation here. We have advertised the next public hearing, but the gentleman has come forward and withdrawn this request. Do we need to open the public hearing, close the public hearing, and then deny, or how do you suggest we handle it? Yes.
I just want to make sure we were doing everything appropriately. If his attorney says that, we're good to go.
Okay. All right. On the item number 4, the gentleman has withdrawn that request. We will not discuss that, and will not hold a public hearing. Ms. Bowers, would you show that in the record that he has withdrawn that request? Agenda adjustments, I have two. Two items we'll add to the end. One is about the wood at Ingram Park, and the second one is to discuss a piece of property that we have received a request to sell. I'll entertain a motion to adjust it in the agenda adjustment.
Second.
Hold on just a minute.
Motion for clarification. It was brought to my attention that we may have, did we pass ordinance 1838 or ordinance 1840?
We meant 1848, not 1848.
I just want to clarify that for the record.
I will clarify that. We'll go back and make a motion to clarify that.
Thank you.
I need a motion on the agenda adjustments.
It's moved, and there's a second.
Motion by who?
Me.
Councilmember Hall, second by Councilmember Bramlett. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Let's go back in and clarify that the previous motion was 1843. Who made that motion?
I did.
Councilmember Whitley, do you amend that to 1843?
Right.
And my second was Councilmember Aldridge. You're okay with that amendment?
Bramlett did that, right?
Bramlett.
Oh, I did? Okay.
Did you have the
That was
second?
me, I'm
Yes.
sorry.
Did you have second Aldridge?
Yes.
My bad.
All right, we've got a motion second. Just to clarify, let's all vote on that again. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed?
No.
Motion carries. Clarify that we did that correctly. Announced delegation street closure request to the YMCA for a hot chocolate 8K. Don't believe I see anyone in the audience. Your information is in your agenda.
Move approval.
Motion by Councilmember Hall, second by Councilmember Townsend. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. I have no known unannounced delegations. Administrative reports, number 6. Monthly departmental reports are in your agenda. Does anyone have any questions? Hearing none. Number 7, your quarterly business report is not quite ready yet, so we're going to move that to the next meeting. Number 8, end of the year update on minimum housing cases. I guess Mr. Luster is going to do this one. Or is Kevin going to do it? Okay.
Is James here?
James is back there.
Wait a minute. Oh, I do see him. See, I can't ever see anybody behind the podium.
And James is here to answer any questions about these as well that you may have. I'm going to give a little bit of an update on where we're at right now. Mr. Mayor, if you remember, I believe you requested some stats on previous demolitions that we've done over the past 10 years or so. This is best records that we could compile. I'm fairly certain these numbers are relatively accurate. There was 1 or 2 charges we weren't sure about whether or not they happened or not. We were trying to find records for that, but I think this is pretty close. As you can see, we didn't have a whole lot come in between 2008 and 2011. In 2011, we had a couple properties, a couple again in 2012, picked up a little bit in 2013, and we've been adding on to that pretty consistently since then. 2017, we don't have any on there because most of those that actually occurred ended up occurring in April of this year, but we've picked up several more in that time. The gray here are those that have not yet been removed. I think we can actually change one of these on here. But those are the expenditures in total on all those that are done at this time.
I think one of them on Hill Street actually had a fire did it not?
Yeah, 808. We do have that one on here, so yeah, that one's gone, and give a little update on those. This is the demo update. We've got, of course, 1518 U.S. Highway 52. That was demolished by the owner. We've got Erie Avenue and 1140 or 1138. I can't remember exactly what the number was on that. We've seen different addresses for it. Those are on the same parcel. We were unable to get in to inspect those last year, so they were added to this year's list. 531 area, that's scheduled to be burned here just after Christmas on the 28th. 513 area was burned back a couple months, about a month ago. 608 Summit, that's the one we're waiting a demolition ordinance on that. Probably be bringing that back up next month. 1510 West Main Street. It is all ready to go, but right now we'll have to demolish it. It's too close to the other house to burn, so we're hoping to do the house that's next to it and take them out both at the same time, try to save a little bit of money on demolition costs there. So we're holding off on that one until later on this year. 906 Elizabeth, that's scheduled to go in February. 425 East Oakwood, this is going to be an expensive one for us. It's too close to burn. It's got a lot of abatement that needs to happen on site there, as well as demolition. So we're working on bidding that out right now to get that done. We were hoping that was going to sell and someone was going to fix it, but I think that's fallen through, unfortunately. 527 Erie Avenue, that's we're also bidding on demolition on that one. Can't remember exactly why we can't burn that. Of course, 1404 Pennington Avenue, that's scheduled for January, as is the other house on Hill Street, I guess the twin to the other one that just burned. So that one will go in January as well, and that will be all of them on this list. Then we were pretty ambitious last year, and it has been a little bit slower process, but we're trying to take on a few more this year, not quite as many as last year. But we've got about 7 here. We've got the original, the 2 from last year, the corner of Gibson and Erie there, and we've got those on the list. We have 522 East Main Street, 530 South 2nd Street, 622 Lee Street, 1602 West Main Street, and 1117 East McGill. And currently we're working to get the title work finished up on all those, so we can go ahead and get notices and hearings set up on those properties. Speak with the property owners and get that ball rolling on those.
You give an update on McGill.
We will, yeah. I'll give an update on all of them right now. I don't have much on 428 Erie. We've had some issues, as I mentioned, getting into these properties. James was able to get an administrative warrant, though, and was able to enter on Gibson. We're probably going to have to go back and get another administrative warrant, and we may actually have to take down some boarding and stuff in order to get in there and see this one. But there's a...
Wait a minute, do you mean Erie?
Gibson. He was able to get in the one in Gibson. This is the one. These are on the same lot, but they're on a corner.
Oh, that's right. That's
one
right.
has one address and one has another address.
Okay, thank you.
This is Gibson Street, and as you can see, these are the pictures taken the other day. They have removed some boards. James was able to get in now. There are a lot of squatters and stuff hanging out here, so this one's getting pretty bad. Lots and lots of water damage on the inside there. On 522 East Main Street. This is Miss Janine Robinson Ayers, and I really hate to add this one to the list. This seems like it could be a really cool old house, but it just doesn't seem like there was a fire here. There were some very a good attempt to restore the house, and hopefully that's still their intent, and we can get something going with that. But right now it looks like it's probably not going to happen. So major repair work that needs to happen there on the porch. That roof's going to probably fall down before too long there.
Point of clarification, is this there almost at Hearn?
This is right here, right when you're going up
the hill.
East Main Street, up the hill on the right-hand side.
Right, but
Yeah.
there's an open field.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to make sure we were all on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
Since we have some new folks on council, I'd like to make sure that we're all on the same page. Taking care of you, Cheryl.
as you can see, there was a lot of it that was, a lot of work that was going on in here, and this must have been at least 3 or 4 years ago. It was before I was here. It's been pretty much in the same state since then. I don't know if they ran out of funds or what happened, but there's some areas that are substantially improved and other areas that are in complete lack of repair. This is 530 South 2nd Street. The tenants that were in there before, if everybody's familiar with this one, this is the last house going down 2nd Street before 2nd and 1st Street come together there. There was a kind of a tent out in the yard, and we had some major nuisance issues going on there on the site. I believe, and James can correct me if I'm wrong, but the major issues going on with this are really foundation issues with the property. The property just kind of drops right off in the back there, and some major repairs. James has spoken with the owner about this one already, and I think they're probably willing to let it go. You can see some of the problems there with it. This is downstairs there in the basement, and then upstairs as well. Um, 622 Lee Street. I almost wanted to pull some old photos to show on this one, just so you could actually see what the house looked like, because it's kind of hard to tell exactly what you're looking at here. But this one's just completely overgrown. There was at one point a tree pretty much growing right through the one of the rooms there, and I'm not sure if that's the case anymore, but it's in pretty bad shape. Major holes in both the roof and the flooring. Electrical issues, all sorts of stuff going on there. And we've had this one on the list. We've received numerous calls about this one as well. It's 1117 McGill Street, and I want to thank Ross and Public Works. They went out and cleared out everything. This looked a little bit like the other picture there. For a while there, it was hard to kind of see really anything around the foundation, and that was able to James was able to get in there afterwards and take some of these pictures and really get kind of a look at what's going on with the property. We were kind of concerned about whether or not this was going to meet the threshold for demolition, but the taxable value of the property has diminished significantly over the past several years. They've reduced that down to, or there's the threshold for it is very low. As you can see, there is some damage to the roof, some foundation damage downstairs. You can see they've got it kind of jacked up in several different areas, and there's a lot of junk down there. It's really kind of hard to look past all that. And then this is inside. It's really, like I said, it's difficult to look past. There's some kind of hoarding issues going on there. Nobody's in the house right now. Hasn't been in there for a while. This one, of course, we've received numerous complaints about. I know everybody on council has spoken with the property owners there.
That we have not spoken with property owners.
Surrounding
property owners.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Okay, hold
around
on.
there, yes,
Just
the neighbors.
clarification.
The neighbors, yes,
Right.
yes.
Back up to that one. I know that there was some time, and I'm glad that James is here. James has been out there then,
Yeah.
and has communication been made to the owner of the property?
I haven't contacted them yet. I've been asking anybody, can you get me a number or get me, figure out how to get in contact with them. I haven't heard anything. So
there was an address.
yeah, but that's not. Have you been able to? Okay, all right.
Rest assured, I am certain that there are folks that can get that, and I will say this: I'm very upset that we have not yet made contact with the property owner. Okay, for whatever reason,
Right.
If we've got a name, your letter should have gone out to that property owner at this point.
Well, and that will be part of the process. And we're going through with the titles right now and everything. There's also some concern about the ability of the property owner to actually kind of be cognizant about what's going on with the
Of the owner
property.
or the tenant?
The actual owner.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't.
Because
yeah.
I believe that there's some issues, that the issues or not necessarily the issues, but some of the neighbors who were making the original complaints or whatever, were of the well-being of the tenant, not necessarily, in fact, is he the owner? I'm not sure about the difference.
There is no
there.
tenant.
There isn't a tenant.
Well,
right?
there was at one point a
Yeah,
tenant,
yeah.
okay.
You wanna
And I
address
think
that?
that is the whole
Okay.
issue.
James might be able to
Thank you. And
address that a
James,
little bit.
I
Sure.
do this because there were 40 or 50 people that signed that sheet of paper who we run into, at least I run into daily.
And I will
okay?
say this, each time I make a visit to the site, neighbors come out and talk to
I am
me
certain.
directly before I can get parked.
And when I was following you down Montgomery Avenue about 2 weeks ago, I almost followed you, but I thought, no, he is on his way, and I am not going to McGill with him. So that's
I
exactly where I
have
knew you
spoken
were
to
headed.
several neighbors in the community.
So give us your take on that, if council doesn't mind, because I think we owe it to our constituents.
Well, I'd like to make one comment about the ownership and contact comment that you made. What we typically do is have title searches done before we start sending out letters to make sure we're contacting all of the parties that have an interest in the property,
Okay.
so we don't make a misstep there.
Thank
so
you.
that's the reason for us not contacting anyone right now.
Gotcha.
We've got that scheduled for next week. Within the next 2 weeks, we'll have all the titles completed, reviewed, and know exactly who we need to contact and notify up front.
Now, if I might just redirect here, the reason I say that is our original, and I don't have mine because I think I gave my original paperwork to you. I wanted it out of my hands and somebody that could do something with it. And I believe somebody helped me that might have gotten that letter or that same group of names. Has that been 2 months ago?
Yeah, Benton had it.
But it's been 2 or 3
I'd say
months.
2 months.
2 months ago, and I just know I haven't. So I'm glad it's where it is, and I appreciate you doing your due diligence in correct order to get that done. I want to be able to answer up to people that ask me, though.
Each
Thank
neighbor
you.
that has approached me, I've given them my business card.
Good.
If you've got questions, call me directly,
Thank
and
you
we'll
very
answer their
much.
questions.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you, James.
You're welcome.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Good.
We'll have to know that that one makes the threshold.
And this is 1602 West Main Street again. It's didn't think we had any really good ones at the inside, but it's overgrown and very deteriorated. Also, you can see everything growing up into the tree, into the roof line there. This, of course, is the building in the back. This is the, if you'll remember, the building to the west of it. The structure to the west of it was that was demolished, I think, 2 years ago. And then the one on the brick building on the right-hand side of it, as I mentioned before, is we were going to wait to burn it and take as much of it down as we could that way when we do this one, if that's possible.
Kevin, I got one. If
Yeah.
you would, go back to the first slide that you showed that showed the progress by year that we've made. Nope.
Right there.
I think just for my understanding, it looks like we've gotten, especially with 2018, with 11 structures being demolished. I think it's pretty. I think you guys are doing. First of all, you're doing a great job. But second of all, when you look at the amount spent, it's steadily decreasing, which is a good thing. That's not something to be complaining about. That's definitely a good thing. But it looks like we're getting a lot more bang for our buck.
Yeah.
Is there any reason why it's so much less now?
The burning really helps. I mean, as much as possible. Some of it's the luck of the draw. That Oakwood one's going to be very expensive. I would honestly easily expect that to be 12 to 15 grand. And it's just we're going to get
That's
some like that.
425.
We're going to get some like that sometimes. I mean, that you can't burn them down, so you have to demolish them and deal with taking everything out and tipping fees and labor and all that kind of stuff. And then, when you've got abatement and that has exterior siding and as well as stuff all through the inside of the house as well, so it's going to be an expensive one. Like I said, it's kind of the luck of the draw. I mean, we could end up with, I don't think it's going to happen, we could end up with every one of these new ones needing abatement. And I
I have
hope
to
not.
give credit to the fire department on that. They're able
Yeah.
to use these as training burns. We just can't go burn it down.
Sure.
It has to have
Yeah.
training value for the fire department to be able to burn one, and they've been willing to take that on. It's a lot more training.
Good.
And it takes a while. It's Kenny. Kenny has to put together a burn plan on every one of them. Has to get all the paperwork to the state, and then they've got to check it and make sure that everything's correct on it. And very often we have to send stuff back to them again, and then he'll go ahead and schedule everything and set everything up. So it's a process there, but. I think this is pretty ambitious. I think we can easily keep the 7 to 10 range that we're going at right now, especially with the little increased budget that we've got for it. I think that helps.
Kevin, would you also elaborate again on why, on 2017, it appears that we didn't do any, but...
Well, it took a little bit longer getting these done right here. If we had gotten them done in November or December, they would have been on 2017. But these are fiscal year 17, 18, and just like the ones we're doing right now are fiscal year 18, 19. But some of them will probably end up rolling over into 19 and 20.
Okay.
And it's just if you can't tell, really. Almost, we prefer it would be, it's either an A or a B, but it's not. It's got an A, a B, a C, a D category, and every one of these houses has something different.
Right.
This one has asbestos, this one doesn't. This one you can burn, this one you can't. This one you've got to do X, Y, and Z and get stuff cleared. So there's all sorts of different stuff going. We got one right now where the owner wants us to hold off on it, so that has to be delayed as well. So you really end up having to treat each one as a different case, and it can slow things down a little bit.
Within the last couple of years, I think we've tried to also mention that our previous thinking and process had been we handle just 2 or 3 every year, and we could get those done within the fiscal year. Well, as we've gone to this new approach, which I hope council has seen the difference, that's much more calculated, methodical, and we're making progress all the time, that the fiscal year, we want to get as much done as we can, but as it relates to housing demo, there's no start and stop to this. It's an ongoing, continuing process. So, you get these gaps where in one year you didn't do as much, but the next year you did
more.
Between the 2 years, you got everything with that 2-year plan that you had hoped to accomplish.
Right.
So, with this new approach, it's an ongoing, methodical, never-ending process.
This was eye-opening to me, honestly. I thought that it was a norm to do 6 to 8 houses, so maybe I shot myself in the foot. I don't know. But either way, I think it's necessary. I think we should have been doing about this many. I think we got a backlog we're trying to work through now, and that's the problem.
I think with every eyesore that we can remove out of the community, it benefits everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know one that was mentioned, I can't remember if it was here or just people came to see me.
110.
Park Ridge.
110.
I was about ready to ask about that.
Yeah.
That thing is falling in.
Yeah.
The porch is falling in.
Yeah, and I just wondered because the neighbors are upset about that thing.
I'll tell you, Mr. Bramlett, that one is, that's another one. We really have no idea how to get in touch with them. And up until recently, it wasn't anywhere near that, kind of 50% threshold as to, it wasn't worth tearing down at that point. We didn't feel it met that criteria. It might be getting to that point soon.
I think it is.
Well, and that's James goes in and actually looks at everything and does a thorough kind of analysis and a objective look at it and says well, it's based on X, Y, and Z and the taxable value. This meets the criteria and we will. That is on the list. It's definitely high on the list, so we'll probably have to revisit it next year.
Kevin, have we sent a certified letter to the address on the tax records?
Yes, we have. We get nothing back.
No response. Did they accept the letters?
No, I don't believe so.
They came back.
I think we've gotten everything back. I don't even know if there's anybody there at that address anymore. So
it's out of Georgia or something.
Florida.
It's Florida, yeah.
Florida.
Yeah.
Taxes current? Property taxes?
That I haven't checked on that. I don't know.
Follow up on 110 Park Ridge. And before one meeting this summer, as I was coming here from home, I saw someone on the porch, and that same night I think I mentioned it. And of course it was still daylight. Must have been a summer meeting. And of course went back and nobody was there on the porch that's now falling through. There is a car that's parked there, and it's parked there all the time. And occasionally there is a second car. I think in the future, if I see that second car, I'm going to go by and get the tag number and see the second car.
Absolutely.
I'm not joking.
Well, there's one car that's been there that hasn't moved.
That has not moved.
Right.
There has been a second car.
Kevin, remind me tomorrow, and I'll give you a name of somebody to try.
Okay.
That's
definitely
number one. Number two, if I might, I will commend this council for bringing on James. And James, I'm thrilled. I wasn't throwing you under the bus. I was just making it because I know people will watch this and say, why didn't you ask? But I commend us taking that step, ladies and gents, for having James here as often as we have him. I think by doing that, we will definitely make a move on this list. And third, where in the process is the house, and I'll have to look at Mr. Townsend. Mr. Townsend, who,
608 Summit.
yeah, is that the one that
It's
we
on the
gave,
list.
no, that we gave somebody some time to do something?
They're up.
Their time is up.
Yeah, they're up. The end of this month, I think,
Okay.
would have been. I technically don't know if we ever actually made the motion on it. We were trying to figure that
That's
out.
what you were referring to. You're going to bring back a
But it's
demolition.
either way,
ordinance.
whether we did or not, it would have been 3 months at this
We
point.
gave them ample
so.
time.
I know,
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that that was one of the ones that we had on.
And the other two on the corner of Gibson and Erie,
Right.
those are his as well. I really don't see him doing he's going to be throwing good money after bad trying to fix us at this point.
So by the January meeting, we should move forward on that one. Is that what I'm hearing?
He can bring the ordinance to us.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, we have an ordinance. We can bring it back up again.
Mr. Beaver.
Yeah.
No, we don't.
Kevin's not even aware of this. Neither is James, but I had a talk or finish on these. I'm supposed to be, I think James over there on Tuesdays. Is that right? So he and I have been trying to meet regularly, so I'll have to meet with them, maybe not tomorrow, because I got a good doctor appointment. Actually, next week after I get back, from the Christmas holiday. The one that you saw over on the hill, what could be the holdup on that, I've heard through the grapevine that that person that might be declared incompetent. If that's the case, then we're going to have a guardian ad litem appointed and do something like that. I don't know if that's true, and I'm going to call the father. However, I don't know, the father's not compelled to answer the question, so I'm just trying to get the father. The one I think you're talking about, I think the three of there, is that the one with the contractor came here several times?
Yes.
Yeah, Summit.
I know that gentleman too. I've talked to him on the phone and all that. I mean, I don't think he's higher interest in that. So we'll just go ahead. I
We-
don't see that happen.
We'll do the ordinance next month and proceed on that one. Kevin, now that you're back to full staff, will you check and make sure and see how many liens have been recorded?
Yeah.
And if not on this list, let's get them recorded so we can move forward with those. In the future, I think council has indicated they would like to start handling these liens and start the foreclosure process if they're not willing to reimburse us
Yeah.
do what we have to do to protect the city
Absolutely.
and the money that we've invested in this.
And I believe we have liens from all the ones that we did previously, 26, 2017. I think we have liens on all of those now. We held off on one. We held off because they were the Corbin Street ones, and we just said go ahead and do it at this point. There was an effort to sell the property to the church next door, and they were going to ask for some lien forgiveness and stuff. And I said that at that point they could come and talk with council about that, but we needed to proceed with it and get them on there. So those are on, and of course I'll probably wait till we get a handful more of these burned down here. We can kind of calculate the total expenditures on those. We'll go ahead and put those on as well.
When we do a lien, does the court or do we send certified letter to the property owners saying that there's a lien on this property and we're requesting payment?
That would be a question for downstairs. We pretty much send the liens down. We send them down to Linda, and she deals with them down there. So,
Would you file? Well, here comes Ms. Conroy.
well, there you go.
I would hope that would be.
We're bringing everybody up tonight.
After 30 days, it goes to the tax office and it gets added onto their tax bill.
Okay. But have they been notified that we did this?
It says on the bottom of the bill as we send it that if it's not paid in 30 days, it will become a tax
So
lien.
we've sent the notice to
So
them to
that
pay it.
it's on there. I don't think after, when we actually send it, I don't think we send them another note. But it is on the original bill that if it's not paid within 30 days, it goes to the tax office.
Mr. Beaver.
I know for a fact that all the previous ones that were sent got letters because Linda Gaddy, maybe Sellers or something over there on Corbin Street. We heard from her, and she's upset because she doesn't even live there anymore. She's getting letters, so I know she's getting notification about it.
Mr. Beaver, what will be the process if we decide to start foreclosing on these? Okay.
You know, the original thought was we put these liens on there, and it's right, they go on the tax bills. But they collect for us, send tax bills to the county, but I think they're not really pursuing their portfolio on their time.
Carolyn and I spoke about a year ago before she left. We spoke with Clinton. I think it was Clinton over there.
Swearingen.
Yeah.
I know you're talking.
Yeah. And basically, they are not. They don't want to pay the court costs and everything associated with it because there's very little value to the property. I told them that there is a value to the city with having the property, especially since we've expended tax dollars on taking this stuff down. And so it'd be like $500 or $600 we would have to expend on each one to take it through the process. They said they would waive any other fees that they have and basically just.
Since you have that
deal with
agreement
it.
with the county, I think we should start the process of doing that and start foreclosing now. It's up
Yeah.
to council. But
Yeah.
I think we should start foreclosure process
We're working
to
on
try to
that.
get our money back. And if we don't get our money back, we take the property and then we put the property up for sale.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be ideal that we try to develop a surplus property database or something like that to where if we have anybody that wants to build a new home in the area and kind of actually put something back, that would be ideal.
Council?
Thank you. But, Mr. Beaver, so in the process, if we're going to keep that as our protocol moving forward, should we not, from the very beginning, the get-go, send it return receipt requested so that we know that folks have gotten it because of the service issue of the original notice?
But what he's saying is true. Half these never get to them. They don't sign that. They won't sign for them, whatnot. So then you still got to advertise by publication to get service on it. They won't. We can't get actual service.
Right.
On it. And what you may run into now that may be good is project going on. Any of these have any proximity to pipe. We've got people just flooding around here. I mean, from Benfield, Matthews, everywhere. And if they can buy a vacant lot for a house or a duplex or something to do it, so we may go get rid of some of these houses.
My question to you was about service. From the get-go, if what we're going to do is try to take claim of this, should we or not? And I hear you say maybe we shouldn't, but I'm just, if...
There's no problem doing that, but what I'm saying ultimately, you actually start the lien foreclosure process. If we don't get service on through the sheriff's department or through certified mail, then we're going to have to advertise and use it.
Right. But this would be one step closer. Thank you.
Colleen's coming again.
Some of them are going to dead people. They're not going to sign.
But there's some heirs out there.
The majority of these,
But a lot of them-
there's really nobody home.
Yeah. It's just, we could spend the additional postage. It's not going to do any good. They're going to come back.
Okay.
I think what you're
A
saying,
lot of these estates that they're talking about, there is no state records at all. And some of these people, I remember one we had died in Austin, New York. You know what that means? The United States in prison.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, a lot of these are scattered out in Baltimore, New York, Atlanta, Chicago, and we have no idea who they are. So the only thing you do is advertise by publication.
Okay.
That's another reason to do this, because they'll sit there forever. if we
Right.
don't.
And we keep, we send a bill, and I know the people are dead. But you have to send it, to prove that you sent it and it came back. So, I'm not sure that another manner is going to behoove us. But I know what you're saying. But
Ms. Lowry, go ahead.
I agree with Martha Sue. I think to show those attempts covers us better in the end. Whether or not they respond,
a lot of them come back to us undeliverable.
but the records would show that they came back. I agree with what she's saying.
I think council is asking you to send them certified mail and give it a shot. If it comes back, you have that record that it comes back.
Right, but we have the record that they come back anyway because we have the bill that we originally sent out.
When
in
you send the
envelope and
original
it
bill,
comes
you can
back.
send it certified. You don't have to send it one time. Send it certified.
Okay, you want to spend the extra money? I'll do
I
it.
think that's their wish. from what I'm hearing.
$2.30 or something like that.
Okay,
Council,
we'll
is
do
that
it.
your wish?
It's fine with me, it won't hurt.
Yes, sir.
What I advise James to do is he's got one where he takes it, trying to avoid it. But we have to send it certified mail, send it regularly on postage to be paid also. Or he'll turn down, but they might at least get in contact. Another thing you do, if you got somebody you think is avoiding you, and one person knows, then the case for. In other words, they're not gonna go down, they'll go down and look at it and just say, no, I'm not accepting. We can send it FedEx and UPS now, but we put it in a plain box where we're sitting on the put the papers in there, we don't put the return address. They'll sign that, and then we get the president.
Do we have to wrap it?
Even if they
It's not a bad idea.
Oh, you're sneaky, boy.
Some nice Christmas paper.
That's a record, and that's their decision.
We'll just
They
hire a
refuse.
PI to go track them down.
Because certified mail will come back refused. That's their decision.
Okay.
All right.
You understand we want to check the liens, and I think council is
Yeah.
headed toward foreclosure if.
I understand. We're working on that right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Kevin, one more to jump way back. House across from the Snelling News and Press.
Yes.
We're looking at that one?
Yes. That's on the list.
Is that on the list?
I want to take on too many.
Is that to
downtown at this
determine
time.
if it meets the?
James hadn't been in there yet. I haven't been inside yet either.
That one just
the
breaks my
roof is. Yeah, I know. Both of them do. The big yellow one does also. I hate to see us lose old houses like that downtown. It's not.
I don't know if that
anywhere
one's-
really, but
If that one's absolutely too far gone or not, but if we had some definite contact with them.
I checked it out when I first got here in 2016, and it wasn't too far gone then. I mean, there was some damage to the roof, but I mean, you could look inside and see. I don't know how it's sitting now after all the rain and wind and yeah, it's got some major stuff going on there. I really
Kevin,
don't know.
one more topic while we got you up here.
Mm-hmm.
Update us on the commercial maintenance code.
Certainly. Well, we sent the ordinance up to Tyler Mulligan, who I think actually worked on the ordinance to begin with back in 2014 or 2015, and he sent us back a whole bunch of updates on that, and has really kind of made our lives a little bit more difficult with it. He suggested now actually breaking the ordinance down into two different sections, one of those for aesthetics and nuisances, and the others being for vacant and deteriorated buildings. There's 4 different statutes he's citing now that we need to find a way to incorporate. I think 1 or 2 of them is actually new since it was originally drafted. His suggestions include definitions for abandonment of property and to institute a 4-category system. If you've seen the commercial maintenance code system that he's implemented, it goes from green, yellow, red, and then black or blue, either or. He suggested we use something like that. That all has to be defined in there, and there's different statutes that apply to each one. We also have we've got a couple items in there he suggested we remove, and he suggested there's a vacant property registration as well, which is something I would want to pose to you guys as a question whether or not we want to go that route or not. So we are putting it in there as an option. Long story short, we were having to make a bunch more edits to it that we did not originally plan on having to do. So, but we're in the process of that right now.
Did you give me a rough time frame?
I hope to have something for you guys probably by the end of January or beginning of February.
Okay.
I have to go before planning board first, but
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
Kevin, can you send this information to us in an email?
Sure, absolutely.
Is there?
Anyone else have any further questions of Mr. Robbins? Thank you. Council, your consent agenda requires no action, but does anyone have any questions of those 3 items?
Just a question on number 10, okay? And that is the ethics training and even newly elected official training. The only newly elected person is Shirley, who has never gone through any training. Since we were, since this was an off year kind of thing for us, what's going to happen besides what's here that can be done in May or could be done in the fall? I know that the league was doing something about a week or a half ago or 2 weeks ago where they were doing some kind of training, but are we not? What's going on with that?
I'm not aware of anything else. The league and UNC Chapel Hill School of Government often work in conjunction with each other on programs. So where one is putting it on, you also see the other staff.
Right.
This is all I am aware of or have received regarding any ethics training. So as you mentioned, and as the agenda notes state, the training this year is more geared toward counties, what they're calling it, because this is not a municipal election year in North
Right,
Carolina,
right.
with a couple exceptions, one being Stanley County.
Right.
So the only thing I'm aware of is that would make any sense for us, because everything that is scheduled in conjunction with other county
Right,
meetings and
right.
activities. So that wouldn't make any sense for anyone here. So the only thing I'm aware of that makes any sense at this point is the May 22nd live webinar, or we purchase the webinar and then have a couple of months to watch it as a group individually and go through that process.
And I guess the reason I say that is surely this is the first, most of North Carolina municipalities are elected on off years. We are the one of very few that had it on an even year. So really it was a disservice, if I might, to elect municipal people on an even year because there's nothing set out there for training. And it really is a disservice for a newly elected municipal person, anybody, newly elected, not to have some kind of training out there to at least give you 30,000 feet or 15,000 feet above. And I mean, it really is. And so whenever we were put into that, electing our municipal officials during an even numbered year, that was not even a thought process. Okay?
No one ever thought about it.
No, and the thing about it is a disservice. It's a disservice to Shirley as well as everybody else because there's no training. And there's about probably 2 handfuls of newly elected municipal people in Stanley County. Okay? And I don't know of any other county in North Carolina, and I stand to be corrected if there are this year, where there's newly elected municipal people.
All of Montgomery County.
Okay, so Montgomery County and Stanley County, okay? So I just think that we ought to do something for any new people so that they have a picture of everything that really goes on in municipal government.
So the essentials class is for county?
Essentials is for county
also?
because...
So the essentials will not be held now until
Next 2 years.
December and January of 19.
Of
So it's a
19.
full year before we could get in the essentials class.
And that's essentials for municipal people. The essentials for county people is going on, but the 2 different governments are so diametrically opposed. I mean, so I just feel like that something's got to be done. And I think that's when the league tried to bring people together about 2 weeks ago. I know they did something in Kannapolis or something trying to bring some newly elected people together. But I just, again, like you said, Mayor, nobody ever thought about that when they changed us and Montgomery County to elect our municipal people during an even year for training. So
Can we have that changed?
If council chooses they
No,
want
I'm
to,
talking about the elect. I
if
know
county
that was
chooses they want to ask for that, we can ask the legislature to do it.
to change it back to the way we were.
We can.
I mean, it's just something that,
Well, there was a reason why it was done that way. I mean,
Well,
initially-
if you do it, you will assume a little bit more cost because you'll have to assume the cost of all the election precincts.
but that's a cost we've always
done
that's right. So that's not an issue. That in my mind, that is null and void because that was not the issue it was done to begin
Well,
with.
and here's a training issue.
Right.
Well, we didn't think of the training. We supported this change, but we did not think about this training issue when we supported it.
I don't think all of us supported it, but it's okay
But for this year,
for right now.
can we approach the league and say, what do we do? We can watch the webinar on the 22nd, but my understanding is still basically for counties.
We can
It's
ask the
counties,
league
but-
if there's anything that can be offered. Yes.
And that's 5 months away. May is 5 months away. The first 3 months of a calendar year, if you're brand new to what's going on, you will completely be
In the dark.
no joke. So
I've been trying to follow up on some of that, and for the 2019 ethics training, it doesn't say that it's for county commissioners. Now, some do say that, but
Now, you can take it. It's just guided toward them. You can take it, and it will be approved for you, and Chris and Martha. You can take it. It's just a little bit more guided toward county commission. But the essentials that's going on now is totally guided toward the county, where in next year it'll be guided toward the cities.
And the essentials is basically local government, municipal government, county 101. And that is the thing that is so important. So important.
Why don't we just ask the council of government, whatever, what can we do?
That's what we'll ask Michael to talk to him.
That's
See what they suggest.
And when we say what can we do, we're not talking, you want me to check on training?
Well,
Essentials.
I would say the
whatever is required
Essentials.
of us.
Well, also the ethics.
Well, ethics
Three
too,
of
but
us have to have
essentials.
the ethics, but
So, Mayor, you're saying that these wouldn't be what we wanted?
Ethics will be fine. Essentials is what she's trying to get, but
Okay.
I don't know if they'll be able to handle an essentials for so few of people.
Yeah.
I don't know that they'll want to do that.
it's like
I don't know if there's anything.
it's like a two.
I don't know if there's an old webinar on that may have been done that might be recorded somewhere that you could watch or something.
On the essentials.
Even though essentials is typically a 2-day class, so we'll have to check and see what's available.
I'll look into it and report what I find.
Thank you. Moving on to new business, consider a municipal agreement with NCDOT for water and sewer line relocation. You will see in your agenda.
Did we approve the consent agenda?
We don't have to because there's no
Okay,
action
okay.
needed on that. You'll see in your agenda an agreement. The agreement initially came in that we had to pay all of that up front. That changed when the 25% law came in. But Michael has contacted them and talked to them, and they are in agreement to go back to the old standard where we pay it in 3 sessions. So we will pay the first payment this year, the next one next year, and the final payment when it's completed. So they did work with us on that because that would have been a big outlay at one time, but working it into 3 payments helps us considerably. So I need a motion to approve that unless you have further questions.
So moved.
Motion by Councilmember Hall, second by Councilmember Bramlett. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 13 is another municipal agreement with NCDOT for sidewalk installation in conjunction with the NC 2427 widening project.
Move to approve.
Motion by Councilmember Aldridge,
Second.
second by Councilmember Hughes. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 14 is ordinance 1840 to amend the fiscal year 17-18 budget to appropriate funds for the city share of the sidewalk installation and water and sewer relocation in conjunction with the NC 2427 widening project. This is to set up budgets for the 2 agreements that you just approved.
Move approval for ordinance 1840.
Motion by Councilmember Hughes, second by Councilmember Hall. Further discussion.
How much money are we talking about?
In which one? In
That one?
the water and sewer, you're talking at 1.3 million.
Okay.
Spread over 3 years. And in the sidewalk, it is, Michael, correct?
It was in the 90s. Let me.
It was
get those.
90-something thousand. He's looking it up.
And it's approximate.
It's on here.
92,363.
92,000? Okay.
363, 92,
Okay.
363.
And that's estimate.
Yeah, they're all estimates until it's finalized, and then we have a settle-up clause at the end of the agreements. Okay, I think I have do I have a motion and a second, Michael?
I've got a motion and a second.
Got a motion and a
Hughes and
second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Item number 15, ordinance 1841 to amend the project budget for the NC Highway 2427 water and sewer relocation project.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Hall, second by Councilmember Louder. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Ordinance 1842 to establish a project budget for the sidewalk associated with the NC Highway 2427 widening project.
Move to approve.
Motion by Councilmember Aldridge, second by Councilmember Townsend. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Number 17, you have your traffic trailer results for MLK and Richardson Street in your agenda. you can see that the overall speed is below the speed limit, but as with any location, you're going to see people that do exceed the speed, and you do see it in this. There's a lot of detailed information in your agenda, so I will open this up for council discussion. What initiated this was a request for a caution light. I believe it was for Richardson Street, correct?
Ms. Dunlap.
Miss Dunlap's here.
Oh, is she here?
Yeah, she's here.
Come on up. I didn't see her back there.
See, that's what happens because of that podium. We can't see on the other side of it, man.
I'm sorry, that was me, and I saw that they had put the speed bump or whatever it's called out there, and then they moved it down to a couple of feet, I would suppose, where the school is. Does that mean they're measuring the distance from where the traffic can't be seen?
They're clocking speeds in both locations.
Okay.
That's what they were doing. And that's what was in our agenda tonight. We have a lot of statistics in our agenda tonight from the speeds on that location.
Very complete information, I say.
So, council, it's totally up for your discussion. If you have any questions of the lady.
Have you not seen the result? You haven't seen the results yet, have you? Okay. All right.
No, where are the results to be seen?
They're actually on our agenda, so you'd have to look at them there.
Okay. Well,
but if you
I don't own a computer.
If you
right
want a
now.
copy, we'll get you a printed copy.
Okay.
Either me or Mr. Baldwin will print you out a copy and get it to you tomorrow.
Okay.
That's all right.
Wait a minute, look.
The chief got it right
Now,
now.
here he comes with one.
Okay, there you go.
And then he needs to come with an explanation, too.
No, Joe.
I might need that explanation.
Well, that's what pre-meeting was going on.
We're not the only one.
The pre-committee over there.
We're like,
It's a lot of information.
Yeah.
We have never typically give you that much information because it's more confusing, to be honest with
well,
you,
Chief said
than
that
it is.
They're still figuring out the data and the charting and the.
It's
So-
safer for us traveling around than it is for the workers, I can assure you.
The council, it's totally up to you what you want to proceed with this. You see the information. The request, I think, again, was for a caution light at Richardson. Is that correct?
Richardson and MLK. Yeah.
And you saw the comments in the agenda about the municipal traffic requirements. Council, what's your wishes? How do you want to proceed?
I'm looking at Mr. Townsend.
It is kind of a bad location, as Ms. Dunlap had previously told us. Based on these results, I'm somewhat surprised that the vehicles weren't going as fast as they are. And I think a large portion of the number of cars that's in this report is somewhat related to the people diverting from the 24-27 road.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right.
Also, the Main Street Road also, but I think what the real trouble is the way that the construction on the road itself is built. It's up high on one end and then coming in. Of course, they're not going to, continue with what we've been seeing because the speed bump is there, but it really needs to be built back.
I don't know how effective a caution light would be. I'll be honest with you, but it's definitely, when it comes to public safety, it's definitely worth consideration. I'm not in favor without, at this point, based on these results, of a three-way stop sign. I don't want to do anything to impede the flow of traffic.
And I actually think that causes more accidents.
Yeah. Me personally, I do think as you crest that hill, it's an accident waiting to happen, but maybe we can consider a caution light.
You both brought up interesting, she brought up East Main and you brought up 24-27. Do you want to proceed, or do you want to run another one of these when the 24-27 project is finished?
I think that will give you different results. I think as when East Main's, I think when both of those roads get finished, I think it will bring different results.
Yeah. We don't have to take any action right now, but I will tell you, regardless, even prior to the construction project, either way, shape, form, or fashion, cresting that hill, it's a dangerous part of that road. So at some point, I do think we have to do something just for that visibility.
How much is a caution light? Do we know what the cost of a caution light is?
We need to get staff to bring that back to us.
Could I ask a question?
Sure.
If we have traffic engineers and they analyze the crest of the hill thing that Dexter mentioned. They analyze the geography of the system and this kind of data. Wouldn't we have a recommendation?
Well, we're not giving it to an engineer because you will pay a couple $1,000 to have an engineer do that for us.
I don't like putting stoplights and things like that just by vote of a group of people. I like to have facts to back up what we're doing.
Ms. Louder?
Well, I was going to say that the initial testing that they did was very complete. That doesn't mean you want to move on that, but I think the testing that they did, that maybe it's not the timing that you wanted, but it was very complete.
Why don't we, Mr. Aldridge?
Have we had any, and maybe Chief can address this, have we had any more police presence in the area as far as, writing citations, things of that nature? Have we done that?
While Chief comes up, just to make sure I clearly answer Councilmember Bramlett's question, we don't have any engineers on staff, and it's particularly not any traffic engineers. So, as the mayor mentioned, we'd have to, pay someone to analyze that data if you actually want a traffic engineer to make some sort of recommendation.
So we're just sort of going by the seat of our pants on this stuff.
Not really.
Oh, this is just speeds. That's all that is.
In the section where I live, in Elizabeth Heights, where the people drive and want to come in and out of the section itself, it causes lots of trouble for those who have to drive in and out of there in that living quarter. That's why I'm here, because those people are kind of frustrated about the traffic that comes through there, especially in the, I think, the daylight saving times. Before it gets dark, the traffic is like terrible. I think it's a little slow now because of the difference in the daylight saving time. Of course, I don't know because I'm not a driver right now. So I'm just telling you what I've seen for myself.
And Chief, when you give your remarks, to your knowledge, please indicate whether or not you recall any accidents in that area.
From what I've seen, as far as accidents, I believe we've had 2 there in the last year.
Okay.
Councilman Aldridge, you asked about police presence. We're there as much, while we're patrolling. When we're there, people drive like they should, and when we leave, some of them do otherwise. This was the first traffic study that we've ran with the new traffic trailer. I would like to go back and do another one probably after Christmas. I don't know if there'll be much change until the construction on 2427 gets completed and we see if people are back to using that route instead of using through here.
Ross, would you touch base with Mr. Teague and ask him what kind of information he would typically need if we asked to do a traffic study on that? That we could gather. What kind of information he would have to have?
As far as traffic count?
Yes, we can do the traffic count and speeds. What else would he need if we decide to get him to do it? Give us some information and what a cost would be if we asked somebody, a consultant, to do it, which is he's the one we've used. And then we'll go back after the first of the year and try to get all that information together.
That'd be the best move.
I don't know how much cost light would be too.
Yeah.
And also get utilities to give us a cost of putting in a light. And
Caution light.
Caution light.
Yes, ma'am.
I do like the information we have, though. If we need more, that's quite okay. But
Yeah, he can tell us what exactly he needs for that. Maybe we can do it, gather his information.
I'm sorry, I want to just add this. We are aware that,
Come on, ma'am, come on up to the podium, please.
they are aware that it's going to have to be paid for, and if it's city or however, federal, however. But what they want to do Lord, I forgot. Is make it the cheapest thing that you can afford. Like, they all thought the caution light would be cheaper than, having some other kind of light put there for the difference in the currency of the traffic.
The residents won't have to pay.
Yeah, I know, but they were asking for whatever you all could pay for would be great for them.
Gotcha. Okay.
Like I said when I came in, those people are older than me, and I don't drive a car.
Thank you, ma'am.
We appreciate you bringing that before us.
Number 18, consider approval of a new provider for a voluntary dental insurance. You have the information in your agenda. Robert, you want to make comments?
Don't know that I necessarily need to make any, but I would mention that this is a yearly exercise, and interestingly enough, we got bids from an awful lot of providers this year, and a lot of times we get just a few. Excuse me, but one thing that caused the high increase was the carryover amount. If you'll look in the middle section of these pages, it says maximum rollover, and that's a normal benefit that happens with these types of plans. And their opinion was that our rollover amounts were very high, so then in that sense they were going to raise our rates. And what we have found is a plan that takes away the rollover, just gives us the $250 extra every year, plus the decrease. So we were sort of looking at something that would help our folks in the future, and I think we found one. It may change in 2 or 3 years, as it typically does, but this is a good plan for us at this point.
Move approval based on staff's recommendation.
Motion by Councilmember Hall.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Louder. Further discussion?
I understand there's a cap on the increase next year, possibly.
Robert?
Is that what I saw?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
The cap on the increase?
There's a cap on the amount, the maximum amount.
7%, okay.
7% is the maximum cap, or the maximum amount for next year. Which, if it's 7 or 8%, we could change again.
Further questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 19, consider an update to the personnel policy. If you've read that policy, I actually think it's a very wise move to allow our employees to move that to sick time, and if they choose to do that, we'll actually save the city some money when they retire.
I move approval.
Motion by Councilmember Aldridge, second by Councilmember Bramlett. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 20, consider approval of a renewal of the indefinite quantity contract with Stogner Architecture. As you know, Stogner is our architecture for our public housing projects, and this is to continue his current contract.
Move approval.
Motion by Councilmember Townsend.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Hughes. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 21, consider approval of the write-offs for the public housing tenant accounts. As we always know, we have some accounts that we are required to write off by law. That doesn't mean we stop trying to collect them. We continue to try to collect them, but we're not allowed to carry them on our books. You have that list in your agenda. Does anyone have any questions?
Just a question. Is Cedric here?
Yes, he's back.
Okay,
Come forward,
thank
Cedric.
you. See, again, I can't see, so. Cedric, this is not specific, this is just overall. How does this write-off of almost $200 this year look? Or how does it stack up to like last year and year before last?
This write-off, it actually was for a 12-month period, and we usually do them for a 6-month period. And it's a larger amount than what you guys are accustomed to seeing because of the time period. And within that time period, we actually had more non-payment of rent evictions during that time, and which makes the doubtful accounts a lot higher than what they usually are. And so that brought that amount. That was another factor to why it was a lot more than what you guys are
That's
used
the
to
reason I'm
seeing.
asking, because I see within the body of your memo to us, or to Michael and to Nikki, last year's write-off from January 1, 17 through June 30th of 17 was $1,600.
Right.
Have we had a write-off since July 1 of 17?
No, this includes.
Okay, so
from
what
that-
we're
that
looking at then, fellow council members, this looks like to me this might be 18 months. Is that correct?
No, it's through July.
No, it's a 12-month period. But
Through end of
Through
June.
June. So this is just July 1, 17 through
Correct.
June 30th, 18.
18.
Yes.
But
Correct.
still, even for that period of time, this is about 4 times what, I mean, yeah, okay.
It's much
I
higher.
just knew there was a big time difference there. Thank you very
And
much.
Mr. Baldwin, as long as they're on our list, they can't go to another housing unit in another county, correct?
that's correct.
Okay.
Further questions?
The write-offs, are they treated all the same, whether it's a large write-off or a small write-off? They just get thrown in the same pile?
They do, except for the ones that are less than $50. We're not able to send that to the debt set-off program. It's the program where tenants with bad debt, we would go after their whatever type of income tax return they may have. We would try to get payment from that tax return before they actually got their tax return. And so for the most part, we send all of them to that debt set-off program. Yes.
Further questions? All those in
No, you don't have a motion.
So move
I
Motion by
reluctantly
Councilmember
make
Hall.
the motion to approve the
I thought,
write-offs.
did you not make that
thought I
motion?
did.
I think Dexter did make
Did
that
I get a motion?
I thought
I think he did. I think he did.
Yeah, well, I
Or
would.
I was dreaming he did.
Motion by do you make the motion?
I did.
Motion by
Okay.
Councilmember Townsend, second by Councilmember Bramlett. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 22, consider adoption of the fiscal year 18-19 budget schedule. You have a budget schedule in your agenda. It is tentative. You do notice that we have one date that is vacant because we do not know yet when we're going to get the audit back. So we need the audit before we can schedule that meeting. That is the one we would do our planning session for next year.
But isn't it the 1920 budget year?
Yes, it is. And on the agenda, it says 17-18.
I'm sorry, that's my
okay.
fault. The
That's
budget
okay.
schedule, I've got correct. Yeah, the heading, I've got the wrong.
He used an old one there, so it's not a problem.
I do think we need to look at the May dates, though. If we go down to the May dates, that is now the dates of the annual meeting for the league. When the league got stormed out in October, and it moved the annual meeting from the fall of the year to the spring of the year, they announced that meeting now is going to be May 14th through 16th.
We'll
or
have to
17th.
definitely change that. Then.
Yep. Sorry to be the rock there, Michael, but
No, that's
already
okay.
on the
I mean, it's hard
calendar.
to catch everything that far out. I looked at my
That's
calendar, and
right.
that is going to be the first time they've done that. So,
And it's going to be from here on out.
yeah.
It's going to be that's the way it's going to be.
So Michael would present our budget on the 6th. Would council be ready on the next day, the 7th, to discuss it, or do you need more time to digest it?
I don't know that any of us have taken a lot of time before we've gotten down to it in the past. I think we'd just be as ready to do it the next day as we would
I agree.
2 weeks later.
I agree. Let's go.
If we did it that week, could we do it the 8th and 9th? That will give me, there's a lot of things I've got to do in relation to the budget and budget process. And so I present it on 6th of May or 6th of May. And there's a lot that goes up to that. Then I get that done. I've got to do some things to prepare for those meetings. So if we could do it the Wednesday, Thursday.
And I will just go ahead and tell you, I hate to be the devil, but that is the second Wednesday of the May, and I don't have it on here yet, but that will be a COG Board of Delegates meeting where every city and/or county needs to be represented. And I don't have those dates on here yet, but it's just, I know it's the second Wednesday of the month.
Martha Sue, I wonder about that next day for appearance, for people to say that here we passed this big budget and.
Oh, we don't pass it. It's just presented to
It's
us.
just- okay.
And then we go into
I
discussion.
agree with that.
No. It's just presentation, and then we go into talking about
So
it.
you're saying that the COG meeting will be on what?
The every strike that. In the past, they've always been every second Wednesday, okay?
So that would be the 8th.
The 8th. And I don't know that it would be, but it probably will be. You know, maybe what we do is look at doing it tentatively on the 9th and the 13th. On Thursday and Monday.
When does the league meeting start? On the
It's
morning of the 14th? If it is, most people are going to
Yeah,
go
that's
up on
right.
the 13th.
It does. Well, I have an RMS meeting early that morning on the 14th, but I don't think the league meeting starts until that afternoon. But that's true. It might be. I mean, it's just that people don't realize that we're already looking into 6 months from now. And it's okay to go back. I mean, we're just playing with dates.
Are you saying the 14th and 15th won't work?
No,
Right.
we'll be at the league meeting.
Do we have to do it back-to-back nights?
No, we don't have to.
To do one
That's the reason I was
week of the
suggesting.
6th and then one the next week?
That's the reason I was suggesting the 9th on Thursday and the 13th on
Oh, okay.
Monday. However, the mayor just indicated that if the league
Depending on when the meeting
starts
starts, you may go up on the Monday.
Where's the meeting this year?
at Hickory, it's a repeat of the same place that it was supposed to be before it got stormed out.
Okay, let's do this. Let's hold this over to the next meeting, and you think about it, and we'll adopt it at the next meeting.
And maybe by then, Michael, you
We can confirm what the
Yeah.
schedule is right at the league meeting.
sorry to have been the lateral.
Number 23, consider attendance at the annual Martin Luther King Unity Prayer Breakfast on Saturday, January 19th. I'm going.
I'll be there.
You be there, Dad?
Since he's the coordinator, he'll have to be there.
Be there early, won't you?
Dexter's party.
I think at this point,
Okay.
unless I'm making trip.
Ms. Louder, you?
It's a revised program format this year. It won't last as long.
It won't be. It won't.
Looks like everybody then, I think.
I didn't get the question.
Attend to Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a couple add-ons that we did agenda adjustments. Number one is the cutting up of wood at Ingram Park. We've had a request to allow individuals to go in there and cut up all that wood that we've got on the ground from when we were taking down the trees, and there's quite a bit of it. We've never done this in the past, but we don't normally have this situation. So if council is interested in allowing this, which I don't have a personal problem with it, we just need to have them require them to sign a hold harmless agreement.
I'd like to see it used.
Yes.
Need to know who's going in there. And
Right.
And,
They sign an agreement with us and then
Right.
they hold us
Yeah.
harmless and let them go and get it. The more they get out, the less we're going to have to go clean up.
what would happen to it otherwise? Go to the landfill?
Exactly.
do you want a
That'll be
motion?
ground up.
Do you
I
want
think
a
we do need a notion if we're in favor of that.
Motion that we allow that allow the wood at Ingram to be cut, and that any tenants or folks that were wanting to be in there do sign a hold harmless agreement.
Motion by Councilmember Hall,
Second.
second by Councilmember Whitley. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Second, all of you got a letter at your desk concerning a piece of property that adjoins the Waddell Center, and I gave you a map tonight, if you did not have it with you, of a request we've had to consider selling that property. I do not have a proposed offer yet, so at this point, I guess I only need you to tell me if you are interested in selling that property. We would negotiate the sale price and all later, but I would need to know if council wishes to proceed with that sale if we get the offer in writing.
Personally, I would say go ahead with it.
Is that a motion?
And this is none of the property, just to confirm, this is none of the property that S&D Construction donated?
No, it is not. And what,
2 years ago.
right, it is not. And one thing you council needs to also decide, if you'll see the little red lines in that's kind of faded, it's hard to say. See, there's a unopened roadway there we would have to close in order to do this. And then the next piece of property beyond that, toward 2427, is property that we had left back when 2427 was built not the 4 lanes, the 2 lanes, many years ago, that was basically cut off from the old Ingram Park. So do you want to bring those lines, as you're saying, straight out to 2427 and have them buy the entire project, or just the area that's drawn in?
Give them the options.
Yeah.
Would
They actually said they would be interested if that's what council wished.
Let's hear that too.
Give them a lot more road frontage.
Give them that option. Give them much more
Talking
road
about
frontage.
that little space that
This right
you
here.
left off.
This right here.
You remember? I think the mayor did. You showed it to her last week.
Yeah.
That can't be a tenth of an acre.
Oh, that.
Talking about
This little set, we bring this line straight on out and do this little part right here.
It's just a little sliver
I
there.
saw that.
They're
Maybe you
making
can tell
a
me
huge
this is
investment in the city.
what I'm seeing. Well, we don't need it. Little section that you left off. But you said they did. They weren't interested in
This one, but they have said they would be interested if council wants to sell it. But right now, it's this piece and the unopened roadway, but they said they would entertain this too.
How much road frontage would that give them additional there?
I measured that, but I can't remember now right offhand. Michael, do you remember the road frontage? I can't remember how much it was.
When you say road frontage, are you talking about the part of the old Ingram?
Right there.
I can measure it on GIS.
60, 70 feet maybe.
Give him a minute to bring up GIS, he'll measure for us.
So that's 248 or 218.
Yeah, that would never serve us no purpose.
No,
That's right.
no.
Definitely.
Just the part straight out.
And the reason I asked that, is there anything
Bring
else
that
we
line
can
right
do
there
with
straight
that?
out.
nothing we
Bring
can
from
do
there
with
to
that.
about there.
It's too small.
Right outside
It's
of
like a
this.
right of way.
To the back, which you never would.
Oh, excuse me, right there.
If you do that,
We
you're
could put a
gonna
hot dog stand there.
Right.
Well, no, you couldn't use it.
That's got to be subdivided. Okay.
I think our planning and
So I'm
zoning
sorry,
property.
right here,
People are
down?
What you talking about?
or from here down.
Yeah, just from, can't be right about there. Now just measure.
Come here a second, though. The council needs to hear that. Really, we do. Council needs to hear.
Now just bring it.
Topography.
There's some topography issues there as well. I don't think we'd be able to do anything with that property. It's very slim,
very,
and
very
then
important
it slants
here.
down. So
It's about 105 feet, Mr. Bramlett. So we would, if council is interested in proceeding, y'all need to give me instructions and approve to do that, see what they come up with. Yes, ma'am.
The only thing I saw in that would be if, and you said they were interested in buying the entire park, we don't ever know about the liability of something that could happen in late years to come on that little square. And it seems to me if they're willing to take that off, it would be, we certainly should study it. And you said they might be interested
Yeah,
in
they
that.
said they would entertain it. But I have yet to receive anything in writing of an offer. Well, that'll have to come in to start it. Right now, I'm asking, is council interested? And if so, you need to.
Let's delegate the mayor to negotiate a deal with those
Okay.
those people.
We have to have it appraised, or
Well, we will have to have a survey. We'll have to do some subdividing. There's a lot
Rezoning as well.
involved in all this. The rezoning is required because it's not zoned the same. There's a lot involved in all this if we're going to move forward with it. And I had hoped he would have had something in writing to us tonight to start the process. But now we're looking at the January meeting to start this process.
But I definitely think this could be a win-win.
oh yeah.
I think there's a motion that gives you the authorization.
Motion by Councilmember Hall.
Second.
No, Chris did that.
Chris made the motion?
Chris made the motion.
Motion by
There was no
Councilmember
second.
Bramlett then.
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Hall. Further discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed. Motion carries. Now, when we come back in January, if we have an offer, we'll have to do several things. We'll have to decide if we wish to take the offer. We'll have to authorize surveying, or we can have the surveying done before that if they're interested. But we'll have to then set a public hearing to close that roadway before we can move forward at all. So if he contacts you, we're probably looking sometime in February at the earliest we can finish all this, if you're contacted again.
Now, does this roadway run through the property that they?
No, it does not. It stops at their property line.
Really?
It's kind of unusual, isn't it, that it stopped
What's
there?
that? What's that?
That
That
roadway.
roadway comes to their property line and stops. Yeah.
Well,
That was unusual. Okay, coming around the table, I think all of council and myself want advise staff to please tell your employees what a great job they did during the storm. I have heard no negative comments from anybody in the public, and everybody was terribly pleased with the way we handled the storm. So please tell your employees that also. And second, for myself, I just wish everybody a Merry Christmas. Mr. Ferris.
Just to add on to your comments, Mayor, about the power restoration activities during the ice and sleet storm. Ice and sleet is what caused the problems with the power. We certainly had our share of issues, but I think what everyone saw was the value of public power, local employees, locally owned, operated, controlled system. That's a big benefit, and sometimes it takes a situation like this to come to the forefront. And I want to echo your comments about the response, and I want to also thank all the employees that were out working, that were visible, and the ones behind the scenes trying to coordinate it all. There's a lot that goes on to make it all happen, and that's, again, the value of having local people perform those services.
Mr. Townsend.
All right, two things, Mayor. First thing, do we have any kind of update from the state on the estimated completion date for the project on the bypass?
Well, before this last round of rain and ice, when I talked to Mark Morgan with DOT, they had said before Christmas. I would say that's not going to happen now by no means. I would say we'd probably be lucky if they're done by the middle of January with all they still like to do. They still like the middle. They still like the sidewalk on the south side. And then they got to come in and build the bubble outs and widen Leonard Avenue on the north side.
Okay.
So I would say we'll be lucky if they're done by the middle of January.
Okay, all right. And last but not least, actually in Albemarle, Stanley County, here lately, we got a lot to be proud of, especially when it comes to recognizing some of the accomplishments of various individuals. For some years now, we've been proud to recognize the accomplishments of Kelly Pickler. Just recently, we got Brian Blanton with minor league baseball, professional baseball, one of the divisions associated with the New York Yankees. And then we got R.J. Prince that's playing for Pittsburgh Steelers. Got B.J. Hill out of Oakboro that's playing for New York Giants. And we got Danico Autry, who's with the Indianapolis Colts. Just the past few weeks, Danico have actually been recognized as the AFC Defensive Player of the Week for 2 weeks in a row. I say that to say this. I want council to start thinking in the back of their mind about how we can be as inclusive as possible on our recognition going forward, because there's been some conversation throughout the community about, in particular, the signs that say welcome Kelly Pickler to Albemarle, which is, I think Kelly Pickler is well worth that recognition, but also at the same time, we can't exclude other individuals that's making major accomplishments from this community. So in some way, shape, form, or fashion, we need to start having some behind-the-scenes discussion on how we can be as inclusive as possible and recognize the accomplishments of some of these people that's putting Albemarle and Stanley County on the map. I do know that indirectly from what I've been seeing on social media, there's even some petitions and stuff circulating that somebody is bringing before us to consider that idea. But I think we need to be proactive and go ahead and get ahead of the ball game.
Is there any discussion of anything in particular?
Well, they've mentioned about recognition for Mr. Autry in particular, but we also need to be mindful that there are potential for other individuals to, make it to the next level. As a matter of fact, it's possible that Danico's brother might make it in the next year or two. So, and those are great things. And those guys, those guys and girl, they call Albemarle Stanley County home. So we need to try to come up with some sort of solution.
I'll bet there's not a county anywhere in this country that can spot 3 starters in
Absolutely.
the NFL right now.
Yep.
That's big time.
Ms. Hughes.
Just a couple things. The water treatment plant, do we have an update on the elevator?
Good
Freight
for
elevator.
you.
That was on my list.
Elevator, so, there are a couple projects that weren't moving.
Right.
We're having some issues with.
Right.
But Ms. Redline and I have been talking, so I'll mention two things, actually, we're trying to finish up. Both, I think, were outside the scope of the original project, but as the project went on, became evident that needed to be addressed as well. One is the Circle Drive. As we did portion of it, but the section that's to the south entrance of the drive was not addressed, in fairly rough shape, and we've got a contract awarded for that and hope to have it resurfaced just within the next couple weeks. So that's one. The elevator took a little bit more figuring out because also there's limited companies that can work on the elevators, and there were some questions about the limited number of potential bidders or contractors. We got those issues resolved. So we've got some funds left over from the 52 plant rehab that will go toward the elevator, and the contract has been awarded on the elevator as well.
Okay.
So those are both now moving, and you'll see one will be you'll be able to notice within the next couple weeks as you drive by, which will be a appearance improvement as well. And then the elevator should be finished, or the work should start on the elevator. Do you know when? But the contract's been awarded on the elevator,
Okay.
so they're both moving.
So we had talked initially, once that got finished, perhaps maybe in the spring,
That's
about
correct.
doing an open house. I'd still like for us to think about that in the spring.
That's still on our radar, so that's still the plan.
Okay. Do we have any update on the insurance funds? I'm specifically thinking about the Parks and Rec. The issues we're having with the parks, we've got to get that
Storm,
addressed.
the storm.
Yeah, storm money or insurance, or have we heard anything more on that? Or
Well, so I think everyone's aware now that we've been declared a federal disaster area. We've had the initial applicant briefing. We've provided the initial information to FEMA. They were here again with the team, meeting with me, Lisa Kaiser in Parks and Rec, and Jacob Weeble in Finance, going over the documentation. So it looks like we don't have any reason to think that we're not going to get reimbursed for these issues. We covered the specific damages we did have, or that we're aware of, or they're still evaluating. There was no concern at that point. So there are some more activities and calls this week, but we're going through that process. So hopefully, in terms of will we be able to complete it, and also the cost issue, this is the best way for it to go. There'll still be some costs we do have to absorb, but they'll be fairly minor compared to what it could have been had we not received any FEMA help.
And do we think time-wise we're going to be okay with the athletics? Okay.
Good
So
question.
I know it's probably going to be a fine line here to get it.
It is, and
all timed out.
if we accept FEMA's money,
Right.
we have to, of course, play by their rules and
Right.
procedures. So we'll move as quickly as we can. We do have things lined up really well. Ms. Kaiser has
Ready.
just an outstanding booklet, very well organized, of information about what was damaged, the cost estimates. So we're moving as quickly as we can on this, but also want to be cautious we don't get too far ahead of
Right,
FEMA and
right.
jeopardize getting reimbursed.
Right,
So.
absolutely. Okay. And one other thing, the tour of homes was held yesterday. It had been postponed due to the inclement weather the weekend before, which yesterday was a perfect day to have the tour. And I personally would like to thank all of the volunteers that were involved in that. A lot of work goes in to host that event. And I know the funds for that go for the ADDC programs. And I went with a friend of mine, and it was very, very, very well done and well worth the time and effort to attend. So thanks to all those who participated in that. And finally, Merry Christmas to all the staff, as the mayor mentioned, and Michael. I know with the storm, we get called, when are we going to get power? How are things? And, the people in the city were thrilled about the service they received. I work with folks that are on Duke, and I know one girl, it was 4 days before she got any power back.
It was 4 days for the mayor. What you talking about?
I do appreciate all their work. As he said, I thank God I didn't lose power, but my in-laws did and other people did, and I appreciate their time away from the family. I had one girl say, "Can I make cakes?" If you want to make cakes, Ross, and bring it down there and share it with
Take
them.
it to Judy, take it to Judy.
Yeah, because the linemen, they said they were out there working in that storm and we couldn't do anything, so we want to bake cakes for them. I said, well, I'm sure they'll eat it. So thank you to all, and Merry Christmas.
Mr. Aldridge.
Just to tag along to what Councilmember Hughes said, I actually live close enough where my house is at where I could hear the generators of some of the Duke Power people running. And it ran on and on and on. And my wife said, they still don't have power. They still don't have power. So we went, we were talking about that for at least 3 or 4 days. So I am too thankful and grateful not only to be on city power, but I am thankful for everyone out there, all of our city employees who, as always, go above and beyond, and also for some of the department heads in this room that were actually called in and worked diligently to try to make sure that we got all of our services restored as quick as possible. So thank you so much. Councilmember Townsend also talking about the accomplishments of Danico and RJ and BJ Hill. That is very, very impressive. And I think that we as a community, sometimes we often hear, especially on council, we hear some of the negativity that goes on in the community with certain situations and overdoses and things of that nature. And I think right now we're in a unique time in Stanley County. I made mention also of a musician, a local artist from Albemarle, Josh Baldwin, and who has just been announced. He is going on a world tour. If any of you listen to K-Love, you can't listen to it without you can't listen more than 5 or 10 minutes without hearing his name or hearing one of his songs. So I'm super proud of Josh, as I am with all of our residents and people that call Albemarle, North Carolina home. So we definitely, I agree with Councilmember Townsend. We need to soar on those strengths because they're all to be commended for their accomplishments, and I'm super proud of them. Last but certainly not least, Merry Christmas to everybody, and hope you all have a safe and enjoyable Christmas. And that's it.
Ms. Hall.
Echoing again what Mr. Townsend and Aldridge have said, the reason Kelly Pickler we got so many things with her here is because of a council member who really pushed that be done.
Oh, yeah.
And Judy Holcomb was behind that. So Judy, to her credit and the time and effort she put, she did a lot of things for Kelly during all those process that Kelly went through, but particularly getting signs and that kind of thing. So that's the history there. We had a water break that I heard about and I saw. It's all fixed now, isn't it? Whoever can tell us, out on 2427. It's all done now, isn't it? Anybody out there can tell me?
Judy, was that a yes?
On 2427? I heard it on the radio this morning, Dave Andrews' show. See? Was it a county water line? Good. That's all I wanted to know. So by listening to it on Dave's show this morning, listen, it was like it was our city. So Dave, thank you for that clarification. I would just extend an invitation. I hope I'm not stealing Chris Bramlett's thunder, but I will. Are you going to talk about Community Christmas?
No, you go ahead.
Okay. I will extend an invitation to anyone listening tonight, watching or reading papers or whatever, to anyone in this community within the greater county who has nowhere to go on Christmas Day, or does and just don't want to be there, want to come with us from 11 until 2 p.m. at Central United Methodist Church in their family and fellowship hall. We'll probably hope to feed 1,400 people that day. So, and it's not for the poor and downtrodden. It's for anyone who wants to celebrate the season. So I just extend that invitation. Some of us, that's the only place we'd be on Christmas. Tomorrow night at that meeting, 6 o'clock in Ray Allen Room.
Niven Center.
Thank you very much. I'd have gone to the wrong
place. That's Ms. Hall, Mr. Aldridge, and Mr. Townsend. That's the events committee kickoff meeting.
Okay. Thank you very much. Now, my last 3 things, I want to commend Lisa and her folks. I was not there because I had somewhere else to be Friday night, but I hear that Polar Express was standing room only and was enjoyed by all who attended. I would love every weekend to have something like that going on, so I commend you and individuals within your staff. Listen, guys, they went to the extent to doing, for those folks that went, wonderful little passes, paying train tickets with bells on them, that these kids will always remember going to Central School. So thanks for the time and extra effort that took to do that. And again, that's the kind of thing we need to be having at Central Elementary at the auditorium. I hate to do this, but I'm going to. What's the status on Tabernacle? Do we have a status on Tabernacle Methodist? Yeah, you.
To my knowledge, they brought nothing to us.
That's the soul.
The soul, where they're feeding people. So have they not? They're still acting though over there. Is that correct?
Yeah, we don't. We need to follow up with some stuff on that. I've gotten some complaints from some people about the quality of food.
Okay, I have not heard anything, and that's been probably 3 months since it's brought before us. Thank you. I didn't want that one to go just unwatched there. And though we did not make the top 10 for those cities to get that money across the United States, I'm not sure if it was an editorial I read in the newspaper or if it's something I heard or something else I read. Was in the paper. We need to continue that momentum. Whatever it takes, whether it's Dexter's comment, whatever it takes, we need to continue that momentum, that we've got a lot here to offer and a lot of good things. Very last thing is, what's the status of our treetop? Anybody know the status of the treetops?
They have been working with Mark and meeting with Mark, and I don't think Mark is here tonight, is he? He is. They're working on getting ready to bring it in. And okay, here's Lisa.
I just know we've not heard anything, and sometimes some people know what's going on, other people don't. I just want to know.
I've been in communication with both Bill and Ken White. Actually met with Bill and Kevin and Nikki today.
Oh, good.
Just, making sure everybody's on the same page. They have had their course design semi-done, so I think they're getting ready to turn that in. They want to start by January, but they still have quite a few steps to take before they're able to begin construction.
I just didn't want that to get lost either, at least on my radar. And January 17th?
Pfeiffer, that is the groundbreaking. They'll make an announcement probably at our next meeting. We should have all the final details.
I just think that January 17th is not far after the next meeting. I just want to sort of throw it out there. I have 10 o'clock in the morning for some reason.
That's the present plan.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Mr. Whitley.
There's nothing left. No, wait, yes there is. Marcia, I wish you'd stopped a couple of things ago because of the segue into the water line belonging to the county. Well, the last several pothole complaints I've got has been DOT streets. So I know we got issues on some of them, but they're not all our streets. There's one thing I wanted to bring up. I read in the paper about a new academy that the school system is doing at Albemarle High School.
Yes.
The Fire and Safety, Fire and Public Safety Academy. Dr. DePaul tried to do something similar to that many years ago. It was not to that extent. I don't remember all the details, but I was hoping somebody would be here from Fire to maybe, if anybody knows anything much about the program. It sounds like it should be a great opportunity as far as recruiting, getting kids trained and interested to go into EMS, the fire department, either volunteer or, our fire department. So do we have any information? I'm
I think
assuming
Sean could bring us an update at the next meeting, probably.
because I think we're supposed to be involved in that.
Sean has been meeting, I know, with Dr. James Simpson. I'm sure he can bring us a report next meeting.
I guess that's it. Merry Christmas.
Mr. Bramlett.
Listening to all of these great things, and I appreciate all of you bringing it up. It makes me mad. Because have you seen the figures that show the leakage, the economic leakage we have in Albemarle and Stanley County? We have all of these great things. We've got good restaurants. We've got great health care. And I can speak to that firsthand because I'm going through it right now. I'm getting as good a health care as I'd get if I went to that big hospital in Charlotte. We've got all of this going, but when you go out to eat, you go to Concord or Charlotte. And if you don't believe it, get on Facebook and look at where people go out to entertain themselves and where they spend their money. You need to spend that money here. And it benefits everybody, not only the local merchants, but even the chain stores that are here. There's a residual there because we get the tax money from it. So I know we are very pleased with all of these great things we got going. For heaven's sakes, let's use it and quit giving that money to people in other counties around us. Merry Christmas.
It's loud.
Well, you really have heard it all by now. I'd like to say that I attended the funeral of a past deceased councilman somewhat, maybe 2 months ago. And I was so impressed when I saw a delegation come in for that funeral. It's been a while since he's been on there. And now tonight, we have an announcement of one of the police ladies that has passed away. I don't know whether she's had her funeral or not.
Funeral is tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock. Open Door Baptist Church, Baptist, I think it is.
Yeah.
Open Door Church on Highway 49.
Richfield.
But I would like to be a part of that if we meet here or however we do that. I was really impressed, and it's not often that I am impressed. When I saw those people come in, it just made me feel good, and I want to be a part of that. And I think it's certainly not a policy thing. It's just let's get together and make arrangements.
Think further? Anyone in the audience have anything come before council? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion that we go into closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143, 318, 11-5 for real estate.
So moved.
Motion by Councilmember Hall, second by Councilmember Louder. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Call the meeting back to order. Come to the end of the motion that we go back into regular
So
session.
moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Hall, second by Councilmember Hughes. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Coming out of closed session for real estate, we have nothing to disclose. Council, Mr. Beaver, I got about 4 items I need an update on. Number 1 is the Burl Manor agreement.
Oh, my.
I've got it ready. I just didn't bring it up here with you.
And the King agreement.
The only thing I couldn't remember was 8,000, Michael.
10.
10. And I read that. Now, the only question is, yes, it is a contract, but is there anything in particular you're looking for in there?
Just agreement that we go.
Contract, that's
Yeah.
the question.
Yeah.
And hold harmless both sides. Settle the matter of any potential future claims regarding utilities or responsibilities for the damage.
Okay. All right, the King agreement.
Same thing. It is an enforcement. I read the agreement. It's an enforcement agreement. Very simple. It's not that law, really. And unless there's something in particular you're looking for in there, I mean, that you want to pay particular attention to.
No, I'm just asking for your approval on it before I send it to them.
Well, I mean, the answer you get on stuff like that is, yes, that's an enforceable agreement. Now, if there's something in particular somebody's really worried about, I need to really focus on that too. That's why.
Okay.
You just have to valid offer, acceptance, consideration, parties within the legality of option, and it's got all that.
Third is the Morrow property that was donated to us. Record of deed says that has not been recorded.
I'll check on that, and I didn't realize that.
And fourth, where do you stand working with the Pinnacle Bank's attorney to straighten out the
She sent me the deed.
the deed?
She sent me the deed about 2 weeks ago.
Okay, so you're ready to.
She sent me the correction. I've got to go to the county because they had agreed to not tax the seller on that. In other words, they were supposed to be taxing us, not taxing anybody because we bought it. But they had indicated initially they were going to tax Pinnacle, but she didn't want that, and I talked to Clinton and somebody else up there, I think who it was. They had agreed to write a letter to that effect. I don't have a letter yet.
All right. Council have anything else come for us? Merry Christmas, and I guess we'll see you officially at the first meeting in January. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Councilmember Hughes, second by Councilmember Townsend. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries.
7 to 6.
What is it?
7 to 6. Passes.